Welcome back to Northern Tales, where silence is broken and every woman's story finds its way back to her own voice. In part 5, Nadia's secret addiction spirals into madness. Farouk uncovers both the headmistress's betrayal and the truth about his own fertility, and the shattered pieces of their marriage finally collide as Rahila carries her sister away to psychiatric care. The drive to Kaduna Psychiatric Hospital was long, painful, and filled with a kind of silence that made Rahila's chest tighten. But Nadia was anything but silent. Her voice floated through the car in soft, confused murmurs, sometimes calm, sometimes sharp with irritation, sometimes surprisingly cheerful, as though she were speaking from a dream she didn't want to wake up from. I don't know why you are crying, she told Rahila gently, staring out the window. We're just going for fresh air. I'm fine. You worry too much. Minutes later, her tone shifted. Turn around, she snapped suddenly. I don't want to go anywhere. Take me home. Her eyes darted rapidly, her fingers trembling. Then a moment later, she whispered, almost pleading, Please, I just want to sleep. Let me sleep. Rahila grabbed her sister's hand, warm, soft, and frighteningly weak. Nadia, we're helping you, she said through tears. Nadia hissed and pulled her hand back. I said I'm fine. Stop acting like something is wrong with me. When the hospital building finally came into view, tall, quiet, grey against the sky, something inside Nadia broke. She panicked. Her breath quickened, her eyes widened, and she began shaking her head violently. No, no, I'm not going inside. I'm not mad. You hear me? I'm not mad. She clawed at the door, trying to open it while the car was still moving. Rahila shouted her name, trying to restrain her. Haba, Nadia. Stop. Please stop. But fear had swallowed her whole. I won't go there, she cried, tears streaming silently now. I won't. Please don't leave me here. Her words cracked something deep in Rahila, but they had no choice. As soon as the car parked, two female psychiatric nurses approached gently, already briefed. Rahila tried to coax her out, but Nadia backed far into the seat, shaking as if the ground outside burned. I'm not going, she screamed. I'm not going. Her father, who had been waiting outside with their two other sisters, rushed forward. His shirt was rumpled, his eyes swollen. The sight of his daughter, once proud, sharp, full of light, now trembling, confused and lost, broke him in ways he didn't know were possible. Nadia, my child, he whispered, calm down, please. She looked at him confused. Baba, why are you here? Why is everyone here? I don't understand. When the nurses tried to guide her, she snapped and tried to push them away, crying hysterically. That was when Dr. Auta arrived. Tall, calm, steady, the kind of presence that softens storms. He approached with slow steps, hands held in reassurance. Assalamu alaikum, he greeted gently. Nadia, my name is Dr. Auta. I'm here to help you. I don't need help, she cried, pressing herself against the car door. I'm not supposed to be here. Regila's father wiped his eyes. Doctor, please. Dr. Auda nodded, his eyes showing understanding. He signaled the nurses, who moved with practiced grace. Minutes later, after her panic surged dangerously high, they administered a mild sedative to keep her safe. Her movements softened, her voice slowed, her breathing steadied. As they lifted her carefully from the car, she mumbled faintly, Baba, I just wanted to sleep. I just wanted peace. Her father broke down, covering his face. He whispered into his palms, I should have listened to her. I should have brought her home. Ya Allah, forgive me. Rahila held his arm trembling. Inside the admission room, Dr. Auta spoke to the family with firm compassion. She'll be admitted immediately, he said. The medication she has been taking is highly addictive. She needs supervised detox. Rahila nodded quickly. We will visit every day. No. They looked up in shock. Dr. Auta continued gently. She will not be allowed visitors from now. Detox can be very difficult. Confusion, aggression, withdrawal symptoms. She needs stability. Too much emotions will slow her recovery. Rahila's father swallowed hard. How long, doctor? A few days, maybe a week, he said calmly. When she begins to return to herself, I will inform you. I will be in touch with updates daily. The room was thick with grief. A sister weeping quietly in a corner, a father praying under his breath, her two siblings clinging to each other. Outside the ward doors, Nadia finally, still sedated, still fragile, and far away from the world she once knew, but was now still asleep. Dr. Auta placed a reassuring hand on Rahila's father's shoulder. Don't lose hope, she's young, and she came early enough. Addiction doesn't define her. She can recover. The wars didn't erase the pain, but they gave it shape. They gave it courage. They gave it a beginning. Withdrawal was nothing like the quiet sleep Nadia once escaped into. It was war, a slow, painful war inside her own body. For the first 48 hours, she shook violently. Sweat drenched her pillows, soaking through the sheets. Some moments she cried silently in confusion. Other moments she screamed, begging for a pill she couldn't even name anymore. Just one, she kept whispering. Please, just one. I can't breathe. Her voice cracked like dry leaves. The nurses held her hands gently. A drip kept her hydrated. A sedative calmed her when she tried to claw her at her skin. She vomited, she trembled, her teeth chattered uncontrollably. Her mind drifted in and out, sometimes calling Rahila, sometimes calling Baba, sometimes muttering words no one understood. By the fourth day, the storm began to quiet. But quiet didn't mean peace. When the physical withdrawal ended, the depression began. A heavy dark fog settled over her. She stopped talking, stopped responding, stopped eating unless forced to. Most days she laid curled up on her side, knees pulled to her chest, eyes half open, but seeing nothing. She didn't look like a patient recovering. She looked like someone who had given up on being alive. Dr. Auta noticed early. He had been following her case from admission, partly because she was young, partly because her story was familiar, painfully familiar. When he visited her on the sixth day and saw her lying motionless, he sighed quietly. She's sinking, he murmured. A nurse nodded. She hasn't spoken since yesterday. He pulled up a chair and sat beside her. Nadia, he said gently, like talking to a wounded child. I know you can hear me. No response. He tried again, more firmly this time. You don't get to give up. Not here. Not after surviving what you survived. Still silence. He leaned closer, resting his arms on her knees. Do you know why I'm following your case personally? He asked. Nothing. My younger sister, he said softly, was married for 5 years, no child. She hid her pain until it killed her. A flicker, barely noticeable, passed through Nadia's eyelids. She bought traditional herbs to boost fertility. One of them shut her kidneys down. He swallowed hard. She died before we got her to the emergency ward. For the first time since admission, Nadia blinked. Not white, not dramatic. Just enough that he knew she had him. You remind me of her, he whispered. This time she moved her hand slightly under the blanket. A soft twitch, but it was something. Every day he came. Sometimes he spoke to her family. Nadia, open your eyes, look at me. Sometimes gently, you're allowed to cry. It doesn't mean you're weak. Sometimes teasing, raising one eyebrow. Do you know you're stressing my nurses? You better get up and apologize. One day, when she refused to eat, he crossed his arms dramatically. Fine, if you won't eat, we'll put a feeding tube. You want that? Because I don't. Those things are stubborn like ghosts. A tiny twitch of her lips, almost a smile. He caught it. He didn't say anything. Rahila visited every single day. She wasn't allowed inside the ward yet, but she waited in the reception area. Hands clasped tightly, hijab always slightly crooked from tears. Dr. Auta always made time to see her, sometimes with updates, sometimes with a reassuring smile. Once, when Rahila started crying too loudly, he handed her a tissue and deadpanned. If you cry like this every day, we might admit you too. There is space in Ward C. She sniffed, almost laughing. Doctor, please. He teased. I'm serious, so Ward C people will welcome you. One of them thinks he's Dangote and keeps offering us loans. Rahila laughed, despite herself. Another day, he leaned on the counter after checking Nadia's file. She's fighting. Slowly, painfully, but she's fighting. Rahila wiped her eyes. Will she come back to herself? Yes, he replied confidently, but not the old Nadia. That one is gone. He paused. The new one might be stronger. Around them, the hospital was full of stories, heartbreaking, terrifying, and sometimes unexpectedly funny. A young man in Ward B insisted he was the Minister of Happiness and demanded that all staff greet him with a bowing. Another patient, an older man, held daily meetings with imaginary senators, debating the price of tomatoes in Nigeria. One woman refused medication because she claimed the pills were trying to marry her. Doctor, this medicine is proposing to me, wallahi. I won't swallow it. The nurses handled them with compassion, patience, and sometimes mumbled humor. But Nadia's case, it touched something deeper in everyone. Her quietness, her sadness, her youth, her beauty drained by pain, her story of infertility, cruelty, and a secret addiction she never sought. Even the nurses prayed over her at night. One late evening, Dr. Auta found her wide awake, staring at the ceiling. He sat down. You didn't sleep. Silence. He leaned forward. Nadia, can you tell me where it hurts? Slowly, painfully, slowly, she turned her head towards him. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Everywhere. Something inside him tightened. Good, he said softly. That means you're waking up. Her eyes watered. One tear slid down her cheek. She wasn't healed, not even close, but she was present. She was back in her body, a wounded bird trying to remember how to breathe. And that was the first step of becoming herself again. Detox broke her body, depression broke her spirit. But little by little, something inside Nadia began to rise again. Quiet, fragile like a child, learning to stand. Group therapy was her first step. The first day she sat silently, knees tucked to her chest, eyes on the floor. Other patients talked, some calmly, some in bursts of emotions, some in the rambling way psychiatric recovery sometimes begins. A woman with postpartum psychosis cried through her story. A teenage boy spoke of voices that whispered insults to him at night. A man recovering from manic episode insisted he once lectured Obama on fuel subsidy. The humor softened the heaviness, and for the first time in weeks, Nadia's lips moved, almost a smile. The second day, she introduced herself with a trembling voice. The third day, she spoke a full sentence. The fourth day, she surprised everyone, even herself, by describing what the pills felt like. It was like silence, she whispered, like someone pressed mute on my life. Her hands shook, but she didn't break. Her chest tightened, but she didn't crumble. With Dr. Auta, she pushed even harder. He gently challenged her. You felt misunderstood at home. But what about you? Do you understand yourself? He encouraged her. You are not weak, you are wounded. That's different. He held her accountable. Nadia, don't hide behind silence. Talk, speak, even if your voice shakes. Some days she cried, some days she argued, some days she sat with her arms folded, refusing to engage. And he allowed it, because healing wasn't a straight line. Then came the day her family was finally allowed to see her. They waited anxiously in the visiting room. Her father, two sisters, and Rahila pacing like someone waiting for exam results. When the nurse led Nadia in, her steps were slow but steady. Her eyes still carried shadows, but they were present, alive again. Rahila gasped, first, rushing forward. Nadia froze, uncertain. Then slowly she let herself be hugged. Rahila held her tightly, rocking her gently. Her father placed his hand on her head, tears streaming down his face. I failed you, he said softly. Forgive me. Nadia leaned into him, her voice small, childlike. I am trying, Baba. It was the most hopeful moment they had had in months. But healing is unpredictable, fragile, easily shaken. And one afternoon it was shattered. The day Farouk came. He arrived unannounced, desperate, guilty, carrying a memory of his test results and a face hollowed by sleepless nights. The nurses hesitated, but people like Farouk didn't listen. He insisted he just wanted to see her from afar. They made a mistake. They let him onto the ward corridor. Nadia had just left a therapy session, walking quietly towards the common room. Her hair tied back, her steps light, her breath shaking. For the first time, she looked like a woman returning to herself. Then she saw him, Farouk, standing at the end of the corridor. Her body reacted before her mind could catch up. Her breath caught in her throat, her eyes widened, her knees buckled slightly, and then a full psychiatric regression hit her like a wave. She backed away, gripping the wall with trembling fingers. No, 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 she whispered rapidly, her voice rising in pitch. Her breathing became shallow, hyperventilation. Her pupils dilated. She had a full on panic attack. Her hands shook uncontrollably. Nadia, Farouk whispered, taking a step forward. She let out a scream, high, sharp, and broken. Don't touch me. Two nurses rushed out. Dr. Auta appeared immediately, voice firm but calm. Step back, sir. Step away from her. Farouk froze, terrified. Nadia slid down the wall, curling into herself, knees to her chest, hands over her ears, rocking back and forth. No pills, no pain. Please don't let him. Don't take me back. Her voice dissolved into sobs. They had to sedate her again. Farouk stood there shaking, speechless, tears pouring down his face as he whispered, what have I done to her? When she finally fell unconscious, Dr. Auta turned to him. His voice was cold. You almost destroyed her recovery today. Farouk tried to speak, but nothing came out. You are not allowed here again, Dr. Auta said firmly. Not until I say so. Security escorted Farouk out of the ward as he wept into his hands. That night, after Nadia was finally stabilized and the ward grew quiet, Dr. Akhtar stepped outside for a smoke. As he reached the hospital gate, he noticed a car parked a short distance away, engine off, headlights dim. Inside sat Farouk, alone. His face was buried in his hands. His shoulders shook with grief no one else knew. He stared at a folded envelope on the passenger seat, untouched, but heavy enough to break a man. He looked nothing like a husband visiting his sick wife. He looked like someone standing at the edge of a truth too big to carry, too dangerous to confess, too late to control. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then slowly he crushed the envelope in his fist. Whatever it contained, whatever it meant, it would change everything. Farouk leaned back in his seat, closed his eyes tightly, and whispered a prayer that trembled through the quiet night. Nothing will ever be the same again. This is Northern Tales, where silence is broken and every woman's story finds its way back to her own voice. Tonight, Nadia faced her deepest fear and survived. But outside the hospital walls, another truth is unraveling. Farouk carries a secret that could shake two families, two marriages, and everything they believed about shame and destiny. What is he hiding? And how will his truth collide with Nadia's healing? Join us in part 7. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe because somewhere another woman's voice is still waiting to be heard.